Hey everyone! Hit that subscribe button because Simone's story is about learning that not everything worth knowing can be measured. Let me take you to Cambridge, Massachusetts, where this unfolds. Simone was a neuroscientist at MIT. Brilliant, rigorous, published in top journals. She studied consciousness, which was both fascinating and frustrating because consciousness is notoriously hard to measure. But Simone was committed to empirical truth, to data, to proof. If something couldn't be measured or tested, she wasn't interested. This made her excellent at science and terrible at being human. By 39, Simone had achieved everything she'd wanted professionally. Tenure-track position, grant funding, respect from peers. But her personal life was non-existent. No close relationships, found them messy, unpredictable, not amenable to logical analysis. No hobbies outside work, everything had to have measurable outcomes. Even her apartment in Central Square was optimized for function, zero aesthetics, just efficiency. She'd quantified her entire life and found it empty. But she couldn't prove it was empty, so she ignored the feeling. Her therapist, mandated by her department head after Simone worked herself into exhaustion requiring medical leave, was frustrated with her. "You're treating your life like an experiment. Life isn't an experiment. You can't control for all variables." But Simone didn't know how else to be. Without data, without proof, without measurement, how did you know if things were working? How did you make decisions? She was on mandatory leave. 2 months to rest and reflect. But Simone didn't know how to rest without metrics. Tried tracking sleep, exercise, nutrition, optimizing for recovery. But optimization without purpose felt pointless. She was just existing. Going through motions. Collecting data that didn't mean anything because she didn't know what she was measuring toward anymore. Her apartment felt like a lab without experiments. Everything had a purpose but no meaning. She'd sit at her desk, stare at her computer, and feel nothing. Would open research papers and feel nothing. The passion that had driven her for 2 decades was just gone. And she didn't know how to prove why or how to get it back. March in Cambridge, that specific time when winter is maybe ending but hasn't committed yet. Simone was walking to get groceries, had to, even though she'd rather stay home, when she saw a cat stuck in a tree. Classic situation, cat climbed up and couldn't figure out how to get down. And a crowd had gathered, all offering unhelpful suggestions, no one actually helping. Simone, who hadn't felt interested in anything in weeks, found herself analyzing the problem. Branch strength, cat weight distribution, optimal descent path. Called the fire department, they said they don't actually do that, it's a myth. So Simone went home, got a ladder, came back, and climbed up to the cat. The crowd was skeptical. The cat was suspicious. But Simone was methodical. Talked the cat through it step by step, finally got close enough to grab him safely, brought him down. The cat was a beautiful long-haired tabby. No collar. Clearly domestic though, well-fed, friendly once he wasn't panicking. And when Simone set him down, he didn't run away. Just sat there cleaning his paws, looking at Simone like she'd simply fulfilled her obvious purpose. And Simone felt something. Not measurable, not quantifiable, just something. Satisfaction. Connection? Interest? She didn't have a name for it. She checked for missing cat posters. None. Posted on local forums. No responses. After a week, she accepted, this was her cat now. Named him Pascal, after the mathematician and philosopher. Pascal made himself at home immediately. Claimed the sunniest spot, the most comfortable chair, the center of the bed. Demanded food at irregular intervals. Required play at random times. was basically chaos incarnate in her optimized apartment. And here's what happened: Pascal could not be optimized. Refused to eat at consistent times. Would want play at 3 a.m. and sleep at noon. Would knock things over for no discernible reason. Would stare at walls like they were fascinating. And Simone, who needed everything to make sense, couldn't make sense of Pascal. But also couldn't ignore him. He was there. He was real. And he needed care regardless of whether he made logical sense. Simone started observing Pascal the way she'd observe any subject. Took notes on his behavior, tried to find patterns. But Pascal defied patterns. Was affectionate when Simone was stressed but needed space when she was calm. Would purr loudly sometimes and sit in silence others. There was no algorithm to predict Pascal. He just was. Existed outside her frameworks. And somehow, that was okay. She started noticing other things that didn't fit her frameworks. The way sunset looked through her window, beautiful but pointless. The sound of rain, soothing but unmeasurable. The feeling of Pascal purring in her lap, meaningful but unquantifiable. All the things she'd dismissed as irrelevant because they couldn't be studied were actually something. Something important that her rigorous empiricism had been missing. Pascal also forced Simone to be present. Would demand attention when she was spiraling into research obsession. Would sit on her laptop when she'd been working too long. Would wake her up with headbutts if she slept past reasonable hours. Was basically her accountability partner for being human instead of being a brain on legs. About 3 months after getting Pascal, Simone started painting. Random urge, completely illogical. Bought supplies at a craft store, no idea what she was doing. Just painted what she felt like painting, abstracts, colors, nothing representational. Pascal would supervise, occasionally walking through wet paint and adding poor prints. And Simone loved it. Couldn't prove it was valuable. Couldn't measure its worth. But she loved it. Her therapist noticed the change immediately. "You're different. More open." What happened? When Simone explained about Pascal and painting, her therapist smiled. "You're finally allowing things that can't be proven. That's huge growth." And Simone realized it was true. She'd been so committed to empiricism that she'd locked out everything that made life worth living. She went back to work with a different approach. Still rigorous, still committed to good science. But more willing to acknowledge what couldn't be measured. More interested in subjective experience alongside objective data. Her research got more interesting. Started incorporating first-person phenomenology alongside neural correlates. Her papers got more cited. Turned out acknowledging the limits of measurement made her science better, not worse. Simone is 41 now. Pascal is 3. They have their completely unpredictable routines that somehow still work. Simone paints regularly. Still does excellent science. But also has friends now, people who appreciate that she's learned to value unmeasurable things. Even dating someone who loves that Simone can be logical and silly, empirical and intuitive, scientist and artist. Here's what Simone told me: "I thought everything that mattered could be measured. That if you couldn't prove something, it wasn't real. But Pascal proved me wrong just by existing. By being completely unmeasurable but obviously meaningful. By forcing me to care about things I couldn't quantify. The most important things in life, love, connection, beauty, meaning, they are not measurable. They are not provable. They just are. And that's enough. That's more than enough." That's the trap of extreme empiricism. It makes you rigorous but inhuman. Makes you precise but disconnected. Makes you right about small things while being completely wrong about the big picture. Life isn't a lab. Meaning isn't measurable. And some truths require faith rather than proof. So here's my question for you: what are you requiring proof for that actually just needs acceptance? What are you trying to measure that should just be experienced? For Simone, it was learning that unmeasurable things are often the most important. What might you need to let in without proof? Drop your story in the comments. Tell me about learning to value the unmeasurable. Tell me about cats who taught you that not everything needs proof. Tell me about discovering that faith is as valid as data. Someone reading this is living entirely in their head, requiring evidence for everything, and missing life entirely. They need to hear that it's okay to believe in things you can't prove. That sometimes you just know. That their heart has reasons reason doesn't understand. Thanks for watching, everyone. Hit that like button if Simone's story resonated. Subscribe for more tales of long-haired tabbies teaching scientists about faith, and tonight, believe in something you can't prove. Feel something you can't measure. Your inner Pascal is waiting for you to just be instead of always analyzing. Until next time, remember, not everything that counts can be counted. And that's okay. That's beautiful. Mio for now.